They'll find your check like next summer. They'll call you and be like, can you write us a check? I found it under the couch. Behind the desk.
I'm not here. I'm actually better now that I have like the app where I can take a picture, otherwise I would hold on to checks forever.
Yeah, but I still am like the one that holds onto the check. Like, this was deposited 6 months ago. Can I tear it up and throw it away now? Or should I just wait because they...
Tear it up as soon as I see it clear.
Yeah.
We live?
I need to get rid
Yeah,
of it.
I think so.
Okay.
We're ready. I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Can we all rise to the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Welcome, everybody. Good evening, good evening. We're going to start our meeting with citizen comments. This first part of our comments is anything that is on our, pertains to anything that's on our agenda. You can step to the podium. You have 3 minutes. I will give you a 1-minute warning, and you need to give your name and address. So do we have any citizen comments? This is hard. I can never see behind the podium. All right, we're going to move right into celebrations. Adam.
How about not on the agenda?
I'm sorry?
Not on the agenda, is that at the end of the meeting?
Yes, at the end of the meeting, there'll be a time for items that are not on the
Thank you.
agenda.
Sorry.
Nope, I should have said that, stated that. Celebrations, Adam.
All right, celebrations, just a few things to mention. First, I guess I'm calling it the Fall Concert Series, for lack of a better name, but there's a story posted to the website with lots of different photographs of the different events. A series of fall concerts by the performing arts programs required band, both middle and high school. Kids did a phenomenal job with all of those. Very highly attended and just really nice job by all involved. Especially like to recognize our choir and band directors for the hard work they put in to get the students ready for those shows. So well done, and we'll be looking forward to the next series of performances later on this year. I have a separate tab, I think, up there to the website, and it just opens up the board page. So it's maybe somewhere down, or you can just go up to board of education and click on board of education officers and trustees. So, Tasha Prince did your photographs last week. As we know, she donated her time and expertise to do that. So we have all your pictures updated, and we've got a team photo at the bottom of the page. Turned out really nice, I think, and really appreciate her volunteering her time to do that. Well, we'll transition to the non-mask photo hopefully soon. Anyway, I just thought that was a good one to start with. But anyway, she did a great job. And
She did. She made us all look good, or made me look really good.
nice update to the page.
Wow.
And then lastly, a lot going on with athletics, but I don't want to steal Dave's thunder, so I'll defer to him on that to the ed update. So that's celebrations this evening. Pending your questions.
Any questions for Adam? All right. Paige Paulson, you can come on down.
I don't know what thunder, so I'm hoping that I don't disappoint. But so let's see. This week started all of our winter sports. So every winter sport we have is started, and we have one fall sport out there remaining. So we're not quite done with the fall season. We still have swimming left, and that's the state finals that are happening this weekend.
Yeah.
All right. I don't have a clicker, so I don't know who.
Oh,
All right. Cross country. We had 15 girls. We finished third in conference, and in a very tough regional, we came out and we were team state qualifiers, which was a great accomplishment for the girls cross country team, and they ended up finishing 17th place out of 21 for the region. Boys cross country had 10. We finished 4th in conference, and we had 1 state qualifier again this year. Girls golf, New coach this year, Coach Brian Kent. We upped our participation to 16 golfers, finished second in conference, and we had 2 state qualifiers this year, 25th and 15th place. It was a great rebound year from the previous years, just with the amount of competitions we did and the amount of athletes that we had out. It's a great starting point going forward for our girls golf program. Boys tennis, we had 25 participants out this year. We had a 4th place conference finish, and then we had 1 state qualifier. The state tennis tournament went back to its original format of the top 2 in the region, making the state tournament, and our 1 singles did qualify for state this year. Boys soccer, we had 36 kids out, varsity JV. We were district champions. We lost in the regional finals in a very, very close game, very well played game, and that was, let's see. All right, and then, sorry about that. I should have put the tied for second first, so I confused myself. Tied for second in conference, then eventually went on to win the district title and lost in the regional finals.
Won the district title, the absolute worst weather or any sport.
Sideways rain, and
Well,
it
it was
was
that way until the football game.
Yeah.
correct.
Similar quickly replaced Saturday.
Yeah.
It was a very interesting about 3-week span of weather for sports, outdoor sports. Volleyball, 35 girls out, 3 levels, JV, freshman, varsity. 3rd place finish in the conference, and we're district champions for the first time since the 90s. No one has quite nailed down the actual year, but it was a very great season for our girls volleyball team. Very exciting. Coach Conklin has done a great job. It was an exciting district win, and we faced the eventual regional champions, Lakewood. We lost them in 3 sets, and they'll actually be here tomorrow. We are hosting the quarterfinals for volleyball tomorrow in our gym. So that was a great season for our volleyball team. Football, we had 64 kids out on JV varsity. We tied for first place in conference, which was a great feat for being in the red division with a lot of schools, with all the schools that are Division III. We did lose in the first round of districts in what was another weather-filled night of absolute rain and mud and a destroyed field. Sideline cheer, we had 6 girls out this year, and we continue to try to recruit and make that a prominent program, as we have a lot of girls interested, and they do a great job. Coach does a great job, and we just want to keep building that numbers up.
Will the sideline cheer only be in football, or will they continue on in any other sports throughout the year?
We have not had any interest for other sports in other years, but if there was interest, we would certainly look at it. I know teams do it for different things, so there is a possibility, but not yet interest.
Okay.
Girls swim and dive, again, the last fall sport going. We had 16 girls out this year, finished 3rd in the conference, and the 1 state qualifier that maintained as our relay did not make the qualifying time. Middle school sports, boys and girls cross country, we had 32 kids out this year. Volleyball, we had 45 with 7th and 8th grade A&E teams. And boys basketball, we have 52 boys out. They're playing today. There is 7th and 8th grade A&E teams. Our co-op sports, hockey has just kicked off as well. Gymnastics, we have six kids playing in our hockey co-op, which has changed from previous years to now with a DeWitt, St. John's mix of co-op, and then gymnastics has stayed the same, but we have 3 participants with our Hazlitt co-op. Winter sports, boys swim and dive will start officially for us after Thanksgiving. Coach is going to take about a week break and after getting done with the girls, and then start right up after Thanksgiving. Wrestling boys and boys basketball started tonight. Be excited to hear our numbers there and see how everything went for the first night. Girls basketball started a week ago. We have 2 teams with 24 girls total. And competitive cheer, as we were looking to begin that officially this week, we've had multiple meetings, and right now we just haven't had the amount of interest we would like to be able to compete. We are still working on that, but odds are that we won't be able to field the team this year and focus our efforts on building the numbers at the younger levels. We had 223 athletes in fall high school sports this year. Going along with what we've always done, our coaches are required to be fingerprinted. Volunteer coaches that have been fingerprinted now will be updated, will be volunteer checked every year with NICHAT, so that we continue to monitor and keep in line with what some of our policies. Athletic registration fees, all our fall is complete, whether it's been waived, have been paid, or payment plans set up. So we are up to date on all fall registration fees for our athletic purposes. Some of the topics in athletics this year, we have formed I call it a partnership, but really we have started working with Kate Wilcox and really trying to push it across the athletics medium, because we affect a lot of kids. We are very visible in athletics, and we have a lot of kids that participate in athletics across a lot of things. And it's just a natural place to start. A lot of leaders, and we're hoping that by doing that, we get a lot of kids interested in that. We did an informational night at a football game. We did a volleyball game dedicated to Be Nice with Hazlitt, and we had a coaches session with Ms. Wilcox directed specifically to Be Nice. So we're trying to do a lot of things with them and really make that known to our athletes and having them be a very visible part of that. Athletic Leadership Council is something that we'll be starting this winter. It's an opportunity for athletes to be selected to a council. The process is they were the kids that were recommended by their coaches will receive an email. They'll receive 3 questions. If they choose to, they can respond to them. And from those questions that they answered, I will interview them, and from that we'll form an athletic leadership council over freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors, all ages, all genders, and try to build leaderships and have student-driven initiatives. There's not much better way to grow athletics than what the people involved want to see, and so that's my goal, is to let them have a voice in where they want things to go here in Williamston, and help them build their leadership skills along the way.
Nice.
One of the sports that you didn't mention, equestrian, was that not this fall?
It was as a club sport. I didn't
Oh, just club, okay.
Yes.
That was just club.
Yes.
Okay. And that was fishing too, probably?
Yes.
Are there any other questions for Paige? I just want to take a minute to thank you. You started in our district and kind of had to jump into a COVID situation and get athletics moving, and with many different restrictions and policies and procedures, and that's how we started the year this year, and everything that you've implemented and worked to put in place with all of the rules changing and all of the just little pieces that you've had to put together to make everything move smoothly. I really appreciate that. I think the community is really, it seems they're, attending these events. Students are attending each other's events, and it's pretty exciting to see. So I thank you for keeping us up and running and letting them continue to participate. I know it has not been easy, so I thank you.
I appreciate that, and it's a very good reflection of the people we have working around us. I mean, it's definitely been a collaborative effort. Coaches, kids, administration, teachers. It's been a great effort by everybody, and I wouldn't be able to do it alone, certainly.
Well, we thank you.
And Paige, just so you know, Paige does the middle and high school athletic director role. He also oversees the enrichment program. He also oversees our test to stay program and the coordination for that. And although it's not a district event or activity, he's also facilitating Red Cedar basketball, and I believe coaching a team, if I'm not mistaken.
I am my 3rd grade daughter.
So he also sleeps occasionally. He's a busy guy, making a lot of contributions to the district in many different ways.
And they're very much noticed and very much appreciated, so thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Sometimes we don't get to see you to say that, so
It's all right.
I'm going to take the opportunity from all of us to say thank you.
Thank you.
One question that I had with the number of people that I noticed on the middle school, is the policy still in place, at the middle school level at least, that there is no cuts in regards to people that want to come out for teams?
Yet we have not turned any kid away or made any cuts at any sport at the middle school level.
Okay, great.
Any other questions for Paige? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next, district staff professional development.
So I gave you a packet, paper packet that's a little more updated than perhaps what was in your report packet previously. And I'll just touch on some of the things from the 1st of November. First, you'll see a commonality across all the buildings in terms of some of the initiatives. First is you'll see an emphasis on trying to put time towards staff, team building, cohesion, and wellness. We certainly don't have all the answers for that yet, but the building leadership are making an effort to try to address that and support staff through a variety of means. And you'll see that as an ongoing planned emphasis throughout the year. We're looking for ideas and trying to come up with things to support them, and it's a work in progress, but you'll see that noted in the agendas. Another commonality you'll see is student learning objective, works on that. Student learning objectives or SLOs are part of the teacher evaluation system, but more importantly, there are means of how students are formatively assessed over the course of the year around a metric that a teacher will put in place based on their subject matter that they teach. So where the students starting the school year and then how they progress in terms of their academic growth over the course of the year. So it's another way of emphasizing student growth versus student academic achievement. And at the end of the year, teachers reflect upon what worked, what didn't work, and they give it a different shot next year if maybe if it worked, and keep on doing what they were doing. And then also, as I think I mentioned in a previous meeting, all staff that were hired either last year or this year participated in Stop the Bleed training in support of board goal number 4. Some unique features in each of the building. Discovery had a really cool concept where they had actually developed a number of different options for teachers in the afternoon, and then based on kind of the write-up, the description of that, teachers could sign up to go to the PD that most interested them. So a really creative way of facilitating it at that building. Explore focused very heavily in the morning on common writing assessment, calibration. The middle school focused on content area reading strategies, which was fantastic. And as you'll see, the high school really devoted a lot of time and effort to common grading practices in support of board goal number 5, and they're making some notable progress on that. So synopsis of what took place during the full day PD on November 1st. Any questions that I can address?
I have one. Have you received any feedback or heard any feedback about how that teacher choice learning sessions went, since it was something new offered?
So this Thursday, we have kind of a different approach to our district day-to-days, but I'm meeting with each building principal and any members of their leadership team. They want to bring and kind of discuss about their school improvement plan, how progress is being made on the year, questions, things they have need support with. So that'll probably be something that comes up at that meeting. But my guess is that it was very well received. My first year teaching East Grand Rapids, one of the first PDs we had was a session like that where they had different things set up around the school and you could pick which one you wanted to go to. And I always thought that was just a phenomenal way of giving some choice to staff in terms of either focusing on an area that's an opportunity for improvement or even being the one that facilitates it if it's an area of strength.
I feel like this is something that they've done before. Like, I feel like this is teacher driven, and maybe even when our last principal was here, they brought it to him and asked if he could do that.
Yeah,
I feel like I was invited to teach it, to attend one, so I feel like they've done it
The
before.
building has done that before.
So,
Yeah.
any other questions? All right, looks like some great information. I'm gonna keep it with you, upcoming presentations and discussion items.
So in December, Dr. Cook will present on NWEA and the measures of academic progress. That's another student growth measurement tool that the district uses. And that'll be more informative in terms of just providing the board some basic information about how it works and how we calibrate and assess student academic growth. Also at the December meeting, we're projecting, presenting the bids for the roof at Discovery Elementary, as well as the secure entrances for Discovery and Kids Corner and Little Hornets. The roof bids are in for sure, we have those. The entrance bids are on the 1st of December, so it'll be kind of a quick turnaround, but we're still anticipating being able to get those to you with our recommendation by the meeting on the 6th. And then also a reminder, at that meeting, there'll be a closed session component to discuss contract negotiations. In January, that's the board's organizational meeting, and there might be some additional presentations around some curriculum or technology purchases. I'll have more information on that at our next meeting. Upcoming agenda items.
Any questions for Adam?
Thank you.
Did someone say something?
I told him thank you.
Board committee reports. Sarah is filling in for Jeff for ISOI.
Yes, you'll notice that the October 6th meeting minutes are in there. Jeff went over them last time, but it's just for your reference to get a little bit more detail. We met November 3rd, and Shalonda James Garza and Tammy Marsh from their mental health specialists from the ISD came to have a discussion on mental health services being offered to students and staff within the ISD. Some of those services that are being addressed between school, home, and the community. So some of those are individualized with just one-on-one with students, others with families and caregivers, groups of students, and then of course with staff. And you'll also see in there is a presentation that was given with slides so that you can get more details as to furthermore what the details are that they offer and how many students they are supporting and teachers and districts. We also had Superintendent Scott Powers from Leslie Public Schools give an update from the October Superintendent Roundtable meeting that you can read about, as well as, of course, district updates from around the ISD. Any questions?
All right. Any questions for Sarah?
No?
All right, policy.
We had a policy meeting last week as well. You'll see again in your packet that we have many policies that are being brought forth tonight for discussion. We also had an update on the OSHA guidelines. We don't have any, we just had an update. We didn't,
You haven't had that?
yeah, no guidelines or anything have come from my OSHA as far as that goes just yet.
Okay, discussion items. We have a whole list of tenured teacher and probation status. So there are write-ups about each one. Adam, do you want to say anything about these, or are there questions about these?
We have 2 teachers that the board will consider for tenure. They both had tenure previously in their previous district. And a number of teachers up for, that are still in the probationary phase, up for another year of renewal. All fine educators, and I fully concur with the recommendations that their principals have presented in your board packet.
Are there any questions on any of these? We will move these for action at the next meeting. And now, onto all of the policies. So I can turn it over to Sarah, or
I don't
Adam,
have,
or however you'd like to do
yeah, I
it.
don't really have any that need attention drawn to, I don't believe. So if you have any questions.
Adam, is there anything you want to highlight, or feel like the sheet? I really like this sheet. I mean, from the minutes, how this is kind of laid out, kind of.
Yeah, Adam does a nice job summarizing everything.
Yeah.
I will say, while Adam maybe thinks about it, that some of the policies that you'll notice that look like they have been struck out of the handbook and actually have been moved to merge with other policies that we have, just to get rid of one policy. It just seemed like they fit more cohesively together than apart.
I think the only thing I'd add is that the committee had a nice conversation around curriculum, the development of
Yeah.
curriculum, and while it's not included in your packet, for this meeting, the committee did kind of see the behind the scenes work that goes into the development of both curriculum and the approval or the proposal. And of course, Dr. Cook's done a phenomenal job of that in terms of getting those structures in place. And we're not perfect yet, but predicting out, looking out ahead in terms of what needs are going to be there from a curriculum and resource perspective, looking at how we're going to pay for that from a financial standpoint, and then making sure that we're getting the information the board needs to be able to do a proper review of that. So kudos to her for the work that's been done in that area.
So can I ask a question just about 7350, the instructional resources? So it looks like the textbook selection and adoption is crossed out. So does this just mean, are we just talking like hard paper books, or would this also mean if we were using like an ebook online?
So one of the things, you want to answer that? Or you
Yeah,
want-
go ahead.
One of the things the committee discussed was defining what a textbook is and broadening the definition of a textbook from not just being the old school paper giant, 3-inch, 4-inch thick biology textbook, right? It can also be online material. So it's being redefined as the primary means of instruction for a given class, whether that's something that's online or a traditional paper book.
Look, so with that, so it says textbook adoption and instruction resources, so would the instruction resource kind of capture all of that other stuff? Was that the idea, or is there another?
Well, I think his idea, or our idea with that is like anything that's used in the class that everybody gets access to falls under that. So whether it's a book that you buy at the store, just like a regular book that's fiction or nonfiction, or an e-line book, or a hard textbook, it would constitute that anything that is a requirement by everybody in the class to receive and use for grading or homework or whatever they're doing in that class.
Yeah, the policy kind of routes, both defines curriculum and then the types of things that should be included in that when those presentations go to the board, and then it also routes resources, which are different from curriculum. And the process for that, which of course the board can always have oversight of if it wanted to, but it's typically delegated down to a building principal. But so that's why the title, if that was the question, that's why the title is kind of.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that there's a big distinction of what is
Curriculum and resource.
curriculum that comes to the board that all students use versus resources, which might be a recommended opportunity for students.
But we haven't seen the policy about curriculum that you're talking about, right?
No, this is it.
This is all encompasses what you're talking about. So I guess I'm sorry, this isn't how when I read this, I wasn't thinking that. So if I'm in an English class and I want the students to read, I don't even know, like a book, a particular book, like Tom Sawyer, maybe they read that. And they haven't read that in the past, do they need to bring that book to us to be okayed and blessed?
Yeah, they're gonna assign a item to their entire class, then yes, that's considered curriculum. One of the distinctions would be you have a number of different items to choose from, and students choose from those options, those are resources. But once you start to assign something to all students, it becomes curriculum, and the board should have oversight of that. And I think you're seeing some examples of how this is becoming more structured, even with the theater production class that you approved at the last meeting, right? That's curriculum because it's being assigned to all the students in that class, and therefore that was a change we made last year that's going to start coming to the board for approval because of that. So it's just a small example of how this is kind of evolving based on the structure we put in place.
So would this also be, so if there was a teacher was doing certain science experiments and they switched up a science experiment, would that come to us being a different curriculum?
Not necessarily. I mean,
Depending on what it would be and how they do
Depends
it?
depends on what it is. I mean, there's always gonna be some gray area, and that's why ultimately the board will always have oversight, you know, if there's a resource that, you're like, well, you know, maybe this doesn't work quite right, you know, then that's something that we can talk about and perhaps reconsider.
So I'm not sure if this is gonna be a big change for staff or
No,
not, but.
it's not a change at all.
Ah.
It's just kind of, cleaning up aspects of the policy, better defining things that are already in place.
In
So
place.
there's no change here. The key with this is really the implementation of what was already existing board policy. So we're just cleaning up aspects of this. This is not a wholesale change. I would just call it a minor revision, actually.
But
it's
this will
actually
be-
the implementation of what has already
already
been
been
policy is, I think, the significant difference, and that was something the committee looked at in terms of like, what does that actually look like? And I think you might agree, there's a lot to it, right? And there's a lot of checks and reviews and a lot that happens before it gets to you in terms of that initial presentation.
So will this be communicated to staff kind of as a reminder? If you're, like next summer, you're gonna change up whatever you're gonna do?
It's been that way, yeah.
reminded? Okay.
And it's just part of the constant reminding that there's structures in place and that the structures need to be followed. So, like I said, we're not perfect yet, but, you know, we've done a pretty good job of catching some things and just, you know, reminding folks and making sure that our processes are being followed the right way.
Any other questions about any of these policies?
And then in the library policies and procedures, that big manual that's in there, I mean, I didn't see any red lines in that, so there's no changes to that at all?
So at some point, there was a 74-R historically. I don't know where it went, but it's no longer there.
Okay.
So that manual is being proposed as the new 74-R,
Okay.
which is referred to in other policies in the policy book, but isn't there.
Okay.
So it's new. I mean, parts of it might have existed in the previous policy, but that policy's been gone for who knows how long, so.
Is that something that in the future, kind of like the handbooks that we have to see every year, is that something that needs to be reviewed every year then? If that's gonna be in the policies?
We didn't approach it that way. We're actually trying to connect it in as just part of the base manual, the policy book, I guess you could say. But, you know, if there are any revisions, we just bring it back to committee like we would do with any other.
As a policy
As
revision?
a policy
Okay.
review.
Any other questions? 12. All right, so if we're all good with those, we'll move them on to discussion for our next December meeting. Thank you for all the work. That was a lot of work that you guys have been doing. And will continue to do, obviously. Next up is Adam's Superintendent Evaluation. He was okay doing this in open session. We do not need to go into closed session for this. So Chris, is there anything you want to highlight on this or?
In looking at this and comparing it to the last evaluation, I didn't see any huge changes. I think they were strong scores. I think the areas that were the lowest on there are areas that probably aren't surprising to Dr. Spina, because they've been lower areas. They've been a little bit lower areas from past ones too. So, you know, there's always room for growth, and I think it was a strong evaluation as always, showing his highly effective nature.
Does anybody have any questions? Adam, do you have any questions for us?
I don't have any questions for you. I mean, if there's questions
Does anybody have
or thoughts,
questions?
that things you'd like to bring up with me, I mean, obviously I'm more than open and receptive to that.
I just want to highlight, because sometimes for people that might be listening or in our audience, that, you know, this evaluation kind of reflects the same that teachers have to do, so there's so many little pieces to it that combine the whole thing. And there's probably no way that anyone can be 100% in every little thing. So, you know, Adam is very clear on the pieces that he really works on, not that he's leaving the others behind, but where his strengths are and what he constantly focuses on. Constantly seems to be a moving target just with the times that we're living in, but you always seem to do a really good job for us, and I really appreciate all the work that you do to get us ready to fill this out. And I thank all of you for doing this. I know we just did it in May, so I appreciate all of you doing it again too. So if there isn't any questions, we will move that for a vote on December also.
And we won't have to do this again until next fall.
I know, then we actually have a whole year
Yes.
before we have to look at it again. Okay, next, I will entertain a motion for our consent calendar. Approval of minutes.
Motion that the Board of Education approve the minutes of its regular meeting held on November 1st.
Second by Dave. Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We do not have any roll call votes. We do have some separate action items. The first one are the board policies to revise.
Move that the Williamston Board of Education revise the following policies as presented: 3900 surplus books, equipment, and supplies; 3605 district purchase cards; 4090 traffic and parking controls; 4100 environmental practices and considerations; 4120 theft and vandalism; 4170 district maintenance records and expenses; 8240 dress code; 1168 and 1168R reimbursement of expenses for the Board of Education; 3600 reimbursement of expenses for district employees; and 5330 travel expenses for district employees.
Second.
Second by Sarah. Any questions, concerns, any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? And I will entertain a motion for school bus purchase.
Move that the Board of Education approve the purchase of a school bus from Midwest Transit at the cost of $95,864.
Second?
Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, our buses. Next, review of board goals. They are written there. I think over the last couple of weeks, we've really hit those really hard to review those. Next, correspondence. I don't see any in there. And this now is time for our second citizen comments. This can be anything that is, whether it's on the agenda or not. You step to the podium, you have 3 minutes. I will give you a 1-minute warning, and then you just need to state your name and address. So do we have any citizen comments?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Jerry Derrig. I'm at 1755 North Williamston Road, and I'm pleased to be able to say that all 4 of our kids are products of Williamston schools, perhaps a couple years before you folks, but they're all doing well. So thanks to the community at large, the schools, and their mother. It's a beautiful thing. I wanted to talk to you today about wind turbines. You might be seeing signs around town, especially south of town, no wind turbines. I can't in 3 minutes explain the position that the Ingham County Citizens United has. We call ourselves ICCU. But I can just frame in a little bit. The Planning Commission of each of 5 different townships, Wheatfield, Ingham, Stockbridge, Leroy, White Oak, basically south of 96 from 52 to Meridian. Apex Energy wants wind turbines. They've signed a whole bunch of leases. There's property earmarked for those. And we as citizens, Ingham County Citizens United, we are trying our best to have the Planning Commission write language that would prohibit their installation. They're not against the law. So we want to say, by a function of perhaps height limitations or the shadow they may cast on a neighbor's property or any number of things, we want to find our way to make sure that we still have a quasi-rural community. To my knowledge, and I've been told Apex is signing contracts north of town. You haven't seen signs yet. There hasn't been a whole lot of organization yet, perhaps. It needs to happen. I'd like to see as much involvement in the community as possible. Right to the bottom line, it impacts property values. I think that would hold a pretty significant topic of conversation here. And again, we could provide a lot of information. We have a website, stopturbines.com. We have another website, wheatfieldtownship.org. We have a Facebook page, Ingham County Citizens United. All three of those sources, you can find more information. I'll be available after the fact if you want to talk about it, if there's Q&A. This is real. We see what it's done to other communities. It could potentially be devastating, and we're going to do our part. So if you have questions, or we would certainly invite whatever help or participation or distribution of information that we could get from the board or elsewhere, we're glad to do so. And I have a pen here so I could sign in on the notice here. Otherwise, I think that's my 3 minutes, right?
It is.
There we go, Saved by the Bell.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anybody else?
Sorry.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure, is that a comment? Yeah. Hi, Monica Schaefer, and I just want to say a couple of the policies that you've been talking about recently, and on different, I don't know if you'd call them like different things for your school board members. I think that one of the perks of being a school board member should be that you receive an athletic pass, and that you should have a pass that allows you to all the different events, such as, you know, if you want to go to the play, let's say you can only go for 10, 15 minutes. But I think it's important for school board members to be able to be at all the activities that they can without the restrictions of any financial responsibility for it. I think the community needs to see the school board members out there. Just like if there's a track meet, and let's say you don't have kids in high school or middle school that are going to activities, you should still be able to stop in and say hi, talk to community members. If anybody has any concerns, they should be able to talk to you. I just think that's a perk. Now, you can say, well, we all financially can afford it, but there may be school board members or members that are coming that financially cannot afford it, especially if they have younger children, or maybe they don't have the job that allows them for that. But as a school board member, I do think you need to be out in the community as much as you can, and I think one of the perks should be, I guess it's not perks, one of the job responsibilities should be to be out within the community, and that would be feasible if you had, if you were allowed athletic passes and the ability just to be at the events without the $5, $10 coming out of your pocket, and without the hesitation of having to pay for them. So, thanks.
Thank you. I don't think there's any other citizens in that, so. All right. Any other board member reports and requests?
I just wanted to report out that I went to the MASD Leadership Conference that was provided Friday, Saturday. So thank you for the ability to do that. I can get into more specifics if you want to talk, but the general session speakers were very profound, very enthusiastic, and I got a lot out of the conference. So thank you.
I'm not sure if everybody got the email from MASB about looking for applications for board of directors.
Betsy forwarded it this morning too.
Did you get that this morning? So that is something they're looking for, board of directors again, so if anybody has extra time, Chris, maybe.
No.
That might be something if someone
Do
wants to
not.
think about, that's out there. Anything else? All right, I will take a, motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
First Chris, second Sarah. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.
I was the high school guidance coach for 14 years.